This podcast contains descriptions of extreme violence, body horror, and adult language. Please check the description for details. Viewer discretion is advised. We cut to somewhere new, but to a person more familiar. Vex, you have become far too familiar at this point with this, with going dark, with your mind retreating from you, but this time it's different. Maybe it's the fact that you were so violently subdued, but maybe it's to do with the rage that you were feeling, but this time your visions, your dreams, your memories, they're unclear. It's not anywhere near as restrained or as vivid as they have been in the past. Instead, you just feel yourself tossing and turning, and with each shift, you feel this flash of red, of anger, of green and despair, and the eyes of that cybernetic power suit, whatever it might have been, that Olivia used to wear, that just torments you. And you feel your heart beat, and you feel that presence with you. You feel hope tossing and turning in much the same way as you. And you are unsure what you feel, but I would like you to make a roll, please. And could you please give yourself a... Actually, first of all, I would like you to tell me something. With all of what was happening, with the vision you were seeing, what would you say is your forefront thought in your mind right now?
I think it would be... the entire world is against me.
It is with that thought that you feel yourself sort of harmonize, and you feel hope with you, and you realize that you're both dreaming. And it's just as you realize that you awaken with a start. And you are somewhere completely unfamiliar to you. You feel yourself coated in sweat, and it takes yourself a second to recognize that you're in this incredibly soft, like, bathrobe. You take a second to kind of take in your surroundings, and you see that you're in what you would only be able to describe as, like, a spa getaway. There's this gorgeous, huge bathtub off to your left, which, you know, is equal parts fabricated and hewn from, you know, some kind of warm and soft stone. You see that there are these, like, black, like, marble lining the place. There's no wood anywhere, but everywhere that there might be a seat or a place to rest, there is these very high-end, like, furnishings to make sure that they're comfortable whenever there's no, you know, direct water around. And you realize that you have woken up on this kind of furnished stone slab, which, if you didn't know any better, smells a little bit like rock salt.
She tries to lean forward, tries to look herself over. How injured is she? How fucked is her body?
You as far as you can tell, are fine. But you feel exhausted, and you feel not ravenously hungry, but you do feel hungry. Could you make me a roll real quick for perception? You look yourself over, and as you do so, you blink for a moment because you're not sure if you're imagining things, but you could swear that your skin is lighter.
She shakily tries to get to her feet, trying to take in more of the room. These surroundings are definitely helping to calm her somewhat, but she's still woken up yet again in an unfamiliar place, yet again not knowing how much time has passed. So, as much as her exhausted state will allow, she is going to try and assess the situation and leave the room if necessary to try to figure out what's going on.
You see, you kind of get up in order to, find the door, which takes you a second to kind of, appraise yourself of where it is, primarily just because the door was, behind you. And you turn and you kind of, go to start to leave to try and find somebody, and you can't help but be stopped a little by the acknowledgement that there is a mirror over a sink on this wall. Do you stop to look in it or not?
Considering everything, I would think she almost flinches seeing her reflection in a mirror as she stops to look, yeah.
Those memories playing through in your head once again. If it were a more familiar environment to those memories, if it were just a little more clinical rather than warm and full of these gorgeous, incandescent lights and low-lying smell of incense and rock salt, if it was just a little less comforting, you could feel yourself maybe even slipping back into that memory somehow. But the difference is enough to keep you grounded. But all the same, you kind of creep into view around the mirror, and it's you. It's still you. Not that curly-haired woman, not Hope. It's you. But you can tell your hair is lighter. Still grey, but not ash grey anymore. More of a dusty grey.
I could probably spend hours trying to articulate exactly what this whirlwind of revelations and insane happenings and memories and all of this fucked up existentialist stuff going on with Vex is making her feel, and probably still fail. It's such an impossible circumstance. It's such a strange and not altogether unpleasant, but mostly just incredibly stressful and unknowable and confusing situation, and she stares at her reflection for about a minute. All of these feelings passing through her, but Vex, I think Vex is always she wants and needs to keep things simple. And so, one emotion in particular has to win. With a shaky breath, she draws back her fist and slams it into the mirror as hard as she can.
You feel the cuts on your fists mend. And you leave the room. It's incredibly well furnished. It's incredibly lovely here. There's this huge bed with the pillars on each corner and drapery and everything. There's various just beautiful soft furnishings and places to put away clothes, and it's a bedroom, really well appointed and beautiful. Velvets, linens, all of that kind of a thing. And you see that kind of laid out on the end of the, at the end of the bed where there's, the kind of storage. You see laid out is your gear, and it's been freshly cleaned and made nice. Even your gun holster, you swear, has been wiped down.
She would take a moment to examine everything herself, making sure it's all still functional, and she would get equipped.
Yeah, I think that you gear up, and I think I'm going to give Lotus a roll here, because this part could be, I think this could be interesting either way. So, Lotus, give me a roll with, you know what? Just give me a flat roll. I want this to be a coin toss. Alright? Lotus, you have been done for a little bit now, getting yourself fixed up. You can still feel everything kind of working its magic in terms of healing. That strange tingling sensation is kind of bubbling around your jawline as the, as everything sets back into place. And it's as you are kind of going through the motions of getting back to where you were going, you do that, check that you've been doing every hour of just, quickly, head in the door and, see if there's any signs of life from Vex, that kind of a thing. And you almost just, keep walking before you recognize, oh, she's standing there. And... yeah, she's in the middle of, getting dressed, and Vex, you see Lotus pokes her head in through the door.
She closes her eyes and enters properly, in case she's... well, she enters.
Lotus, you notice at this point that her skin and her hair is lighter than when you first met her.
Static rings through her head for a few moments. She nearly falls back on pleasantries. Doing okay?
Never better.
Truth be told, I somewhat doubt that, but if you want that to be what's on the record, I won't stop you.
She sighs and takes a few moments, finishing wrapping the last of her bandages and belts.
Did I do a good job with cleaning?
Yeah, thanks.
She thinks that thanks is disingenuous, but doesn't call her out on it.
Things are a bit hazy for me, but I did remember a couple things.
Do you recall what happened after you recalled those couple of things?
You notice at this point, Vex, that despite the, despite having been, fixed up,
she's visibly, I've just been fixed up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There is stitching up her neck and in her jaw and you can see that her arms have only just, recently been, attached properly and everything. Because if I'm not mistaken, Lotus does tend to wear sleeveless, stuff.
Yes, she does.
And you do in fact see that she is sporting notably fewer additional arms, and they are of a make that is not fully the same as what she had before. She has very clearly just been done getting severely fixed up.
I can put two and two together, yeah.
I imagine that you want answers.
I get what just happened, and I'd apologize, but it's probably pretty obvious that it wasn't really me doing all that.
I was not expecting an apology.
Still, I get how insane and fucked up and everything this has been. But I need to do that again.
I'll be well and truly honest. I'd love to, but the fact of the matter is, you demolished the, old resuscitated medical bed. That's going to need to be a, collector territory replacement, and that will take a while. I'll be fully honest, I will let you know if they tell me that anything can be done to speed up the acquisition of it. But that thing...
She's already just, her hands are scrunching up, or just screwing up her hair, and she's pacing back and forth slowly.
That thing was in worse shape than I was, so that should give you an approximation of how little can be salvaged from it.
At this point, Quoth, you have found your way down here, and you have heard the two of their voices coming from the room.
She crawls in from the vents, as is her usual wont.
I think this is one of the few rooms where there is not a vent in the room, but outside of it, outside
That's
of the door
fair.
only.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. She crawls in to the other room through the vents and walks in. She is holding her notebook, a large sweetbread, and the sweetbread has a piece of loose paper on it.
She barely even seems to register this for the moment, just staring up at the ceiling. Of course. Another fucking dead end.
I would not go so far as to say it's a dead end.
Another tiny flash, another fucking piece of shit clue devoid of anything useful that I don't know what to do. I guess just...
I have an idea.
What?
Quoth, I can tell you have business. Feel free to get that out of the way.
She looks, for once, a little awkward, walking in on this. Usually she's very socially inept.
She looks at the bread with paper on it. I'm not hungry.
You are.
She looks at Vex, the colorful one. She then looks at the paper. It has the sketch of No Soul. It has No Soul's name on it. No Soul requested you to have this and to go see her when you can.
No Soul was here?
She nods. The rooftops.
Did you tell her about what happened?
She shows the book, the pages.
She puts on a fake smile, I think. One that Quoth can't read through, but Vex likely can. Let's see.
She, it's notable that it doesn't have anything that, that Vex was saying. It's just the events.
I kind of have more important shit to focus on right now, but fine. Noted.
Yeah. She hands over the sweetbread and refuses to not hold it out until it's taken.
She takes it, but just is still focused on Lotus.
Yeah.
Lotus's survival instinct is not as honed as Vex's. But being surrounded by violence, she can still tell when someone is not quite locking up, not quite sprung and ready for combat. She's seen too little fighting to so readily get into that position. It's more she gets into a stance where she's about to be ready to spring into action. Where do you know the name Olivia? In short order, please.
There's definitely a visible just flinch on her face as she glares towards Lotus. That's what I'm trying to fucking find out. I'd never heard it before until just now. Well, I guess it was written down before, but fucking whatever. I don't know. I don't know who they are. I don't know any of this shit. I keep getting names and flashes, but nothing cohesive.
I know her. Knew her. She looks down. I think. No, I know.
She takes a slow step forward. How?
I would like it if Quoth wasn't here when I explain this, if that's okay. She's not kept secrets from Quoth before. That's weird. But whether she remembers that is up to you, I think.
She definitely finds it a little strange. But you know, she has that absolute trust in Lotus. So she would nod and scurry, I guess, out of the room.
Real quick, before we go further, Iris. It's at this point as Vex that you, having talked to some people, can kind of get stock of how you're feeling. I would like you to immediately remove 5 blood first, just for coming to, essentially. I would like you to also make a conversation check with Lotus and with Quoth. And while we're at it, Quoth and Lotus, could you also just make rolls for earlier from when you were talking to your respective people as well?
Here are the bat rolls. I'm fine with them.
Mine was okay.
Okay. So, I believe Lotus, that means that you have cleared for this conversation with Vex. Quoth, you have cleared for your conversation with No Soul. Iris, you have cleared for your conversation with Lotus, and Quoth and Vex. Yeah, give me a roll as well, because I didn't see that one, so go for it.
A 6.
Yep.
4
That's
sixes.
Another cleared. Right. You feel that regardless of how tense the situation is, talking as people instead of killing is always a fast track to grounding yourself. But I will let you carry on.
Dredges, I imagine, are naturally not scared of too much, which is why her uneven breathing likely strikes Vex. I do not wish to obscure the truth, but we spoke slightly earlier of things that you do not tell to FRI and things that you don't tell to FRI. Can I show you something? No, rather. I believe that I've seen something quite close to your soul, and some part of me that still values human interaction desires to show something of similar weight and power. Can I show you something? I promise you it shall not be a waste of time.
She nods.
With me, then. All due respect, I sort of thought you came to make an example of me. Your gun is still racked up outside the chamber. I will go momentarily prepare. You can go get that.
She just walks past Lotus to go grab it.
You collect your gun, and in time you make yourself ready, Lotus, and you come to find Vex again. And you begin to lead her to a floor which not many, I say not many, no one knows about. Because to most people, this is the lowest floor of Nevermore. But to you, Lotus, there is one further. And you are led through to a fairly, what seems like an innocuous part of this lower floor before there is a swift movement from Lotus that, like, essentially you hear a beep as she kind of, like, does something behind one of the, you know, pipes or whatever that's around, and you see that what previously had seemed just like facets of, you know, fastenings on the walls and that kind of a thing kind of click open to reveal a door leading downward into a stairwell, I imagine. Go ahead.
The stonework is immaculate. There is a singular, what you think is, and then can confirm is, a water pipe acting as a railing to your left and right. Lotus holds one of the pipes with a mechanical hand and starts walking down. Again, I insist that the conversation about that woman will progress best when you see what she's related to. Until then, do you want me to espouse theories, or do you not care?
I have a few theories of my own.
Well, if you'll permit me, does the start of "there's another person inside you" seem about accurate?
There's a long pause as she just grimaces and grits her teeth, but then just nods, realizes she wouldn't see that 'cause she's walking behind her, and then just mutters something along those lines.
Would the follow-up of the belief that your blood is functionally acting as a secondary or slowly overriding nervous system also ring a few bells, or be practically assumed by this point?
Assumed?
Right. Your blood is difficult. I will readily admit that I tried to take some whilst you were out, solely for the sake of sating my own and what I imagined would be your curiosity.
And I'll quickly interject here. When you were looking at what blood you could pick up from the pool or from the vein-like creatures, you saw something similar to what Stitch saw. Not that the blood looked like nerve cells, but that the arteries and the veins had that similar look. The blood itself was notable in just how densely packed with the energy-producing organelle known as mitochondria, it appeared to be, as well as storage for energy, just in general.
I am quite earnest, usually. It is not out of some beautiful standing. It is not because I am a degree of morality, innocence. It's that when I do lie, it's for things important, like what occurred here today. I cannot promise that this won't come back to haunt you, especially because Quoth quite clearly forgot my comment of "don't tell anyone about this," which makes me concerned for her state of things, but that's neither here nor there, is it? She mumbles a couple of ways to continue her research and attempts to put an answer to what to do next, but most of it is trailed off and lost on Vex.
Hey gang, welcome to the break. I hope you've been enjoying the episode so far, but let's take a second to unwind and do all of our normal shilling, why don't we? So, if you've been enjoying yourselves and you would like to see more of this kind of thing from me, whether that be other tabletop shows or just more Heart of Hope, then the best way to do that is by supporting me over on Patreon. on patreon.com/eternal_savvy, again, that is eternal_savvy, you can support me for as little as $1 a month, and when you do so, you'll get an episode ahead of schedule, as well as a few bits and pieces that I've uploaded, just some assets that I've used in the game with Iris in our own, tracking of various things on maps and stuff like that. It's nothing crazy, but I thought I may as well make it available. But the main thing is the extra episode ahead of time. You can support for as much as you like if you want to be really extra generous and just help me out and, just show your support. But even that $1 a month is going to make the difference, and it is going to be enough to get hold of that extra episode. So I really hope you consider supporting. Speaking of the stuff that I do and the stuff that I make, I also stream on Twitch. Again, that's eternal_savvy. It's pretty much the same everywhere. But we do, I do video games over there at the moment in a big way. I also do art, I do art as well, art streams, that kind of thing. And if we do a tabletop stream in future, that will be where that gets hosted as well. I'm also on Blue Sky if you'd like to see my art. And I also have a YouTube channel, if you're not listening to it, to this on it currently, that is also eternal_savvy. Or if you want to see my Twitch VODs, then those get uploaded over on staying_savvy, which is pretty much the only place that I'm different. If you are one of the wonderful people who has been submitting fan art for the show, however, which you will be seeing on screen if you're on YouTube, then if you want to submit it because it's not already up here yet, you can do so over on Blue Sky. Tag me again at eternal_savvy and use the hashtag Heart of Hope to help me find it, and I will include it on the carousel unless you say otherwise. You can also submit it over on my Discord server if you are part of that, in our fan art channel. And if you are doing that, you are awesome. Thank you so much. It's been brilliant seeing the fan art that we are getting. I can't thank you enough for that. And just in case you would like to support me, but you can only do it on a one-time basis, and thus you can't do it on Patreon, then you can go over to Ko-Fi at the same in order to send as little or as much as you would like. And all of that money is going to be going towards supporting me, or supporting other human artists alongside myself, because I have been using the money that we get from this show in order to commission real human composers and such, in order to get like an actual, unique soundtrack for Heart of Hope, which you will have been hearing those tracks every now and then already in the show. So if you'd like to help improve the show, give it more of a unique and bespoke vibe, then that's another reason to support. Other than that, I do not believe that we have had anyone show up specifically by name in terms of character prompts today from the fans. So I think that will be everything. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for continuing to support us. We will see you next time, and I'll let you get back to the episode. Bye-bye.
After a while, the area ends in a platform with 3 on either side. Water storage containers, water heaters, and directly across, a very large, iris-akin metallic door with teeth that lock together in a way that is quite clearly desperate to be kept secret. She wanders to it, places a hand along an edge, a mechanical hand, and it hisses and opens, revealing a second, yet thicker one behind. Bordering on years ago now, I hired the Iron Ashura to punch through a couple of doors that I was experimenting with, try and find one that she couldn't break down, but it never actually worked. Never actually got there.
Doesn't surprise me.
The door finishes opening, and you might expect a number of things behind this door. But what isn't expected, at least I imagine to some degree, is that when the door finishes opening, there is this sudden change in temperature in the air. and a change in humidity as well. You feel that rush of steam almost, as if you were in a sauna, kind of pulse out into the room that you're standing in. And for a moment you kind of like blink as you are trying to like perceive what's going on, as you look out and you see that in front of you, with lights slowly kind of flicking on in the distance, is some kind of small cave system. And there's places to walk, but most notably on various parts of the floors where the cave dips, you see that there is the telltale shimmer of the light dancing across water. And you see that that water is steaming with heat. And you realize that this appears to be some kind of geothermal vent down here.
Along one of the walls, there is a nearly childlike toy. It is connected to this large pipe with a small RC remote control? Well, with a small remote control connected to that wire. She takes the toy, a little submarine-like thing, with what you think are cameras, and tosses it in. I started building Nevermore a long while ago. One of the builders complained idly of how hot it was in the basement portion, originally meant to be for electricity and water. And, out of simple sheer curiosity, I decided to look into it, and a portion of it had flooded. I thought there was something odd going on, and dug deeper, finding not just hot water for the sake of drinking and pleasure, but for electricity. A shocking amount of electricity, may I add. This deals with virtually all of the power concerns that Nevermore has ever had. I was very meticulous with it. I was very slow. I knew that if someone else knew about this, it would cause some variety of, I don't want to go so far as to say a war, but people would be interested. And frankly, I am not wise enough to know what dramatic changes in politics the knowledge of this would create. I created that little machine that you saw, which is currently delving into the baser portion of the system, and carried on for the most part. Part of me wondered if there was some bigger fish, but that was mostly not a concern that I had. 11 years ago now, there was a knock at my door. That same lack of confidence when speaking, like the boogeyman that she seems to think Olivia is, returns. And 3 strangers came in. Well-dressed, but not... You've been around Hope's Rise for a while. You know that there's a level of dirt, grime, that can't be just done away with in a shower, no matter how hard you try. There's a level of knowing what this place is like, of surviving, tooth and nail.
Just get to the point.
Olivia was one of those 3. She explained that despite their lengthy looks at the cave system which they use, they were not expecting a sliver to be able to have reached the surface, like I had the fine privilege of. She outlined, in no broad detail, tell no one of this, or you die. Or, even worse, my sister does.
It's at this point that the little submarine toy surfaces once again. Not having the sophistication to feed a video live wirelessly, basically nothing does. The strange nature of wireless communications in this world preventing such things. But in short order, Lotus unplugs the camera, clicks open the waterproof casing and produces a chunky memory stick, and then goes to plug it into a small terminal that is kept nearby to monitor power usage and power creation. And brought up on screen is a video of what was beneath the water. And you see slowly pull into view the unmistakable shape of a large block of explosives beneath the water.
They said, if I explore any further out, then a list of coordinates that Olivia kindly gave me bundled in threats, that no one would survive. This entire building would go under the waves, and they wouldn't care. They gave me a box of things for the sake of making my power grid seem smoother than it is. Expensive things. She very explicitly mentioned it was from the outskirts, the no man's land. Told me to say that it was a little boon that I just so happened upon. And after she gave me the coordinates, she spoke as though I was a rat that she had to begrudgingly share her home with, and said, hopefully we won't meet again. I believe internally I said something quite similar. It's a name that I haven't thought about in multiple years, but I am no fool. Whoever communicated with me, however begrudgingly, is very powerful. And if I step out of line, my life's work goes... She makes a dramatic puff and moves her fingers as though to imply a dust cloud. I've taken what steps I can, but I've not yet come to terms with it. She looks at Vex. There are cameras dotted around between the explosive bands. If you want me to get a picture of one of those, I believe that I could. But that is where I know Olivia. You spoke with anger as though you wanted her dead, and I'll be honest, so do I. No one threatens my clientele. No one threatens my sister. But there's one thing that's for certain. We haven't spoke again. And even if we did, I doubt I could beat her in a fight. She had this wrist-mounted thing that fired plasma, and plasma's very difficult to come by.
In Vex's time in Hope's Rise, I imagine she has done plenty of jobs. It's probably something she specializes in to an extent. I've always imagined she's done plenty of jobs involving infiltration, prying open the secret vaults and chambers of the buildings of rival gangs or businessmen. And those who hire her to dismantle these individuals reap the rewards of whatever she then exposes. And I assume she's never heard of anything on the level of secret underground cave system beneath the city.
This, for all intents and purposes, is a completely unknown factor, and I will emphasize that what Lotus said about the city political implications of there being geothermal power beneath the city is kind of staggering. Like, first of all, this is in Section C territory, and if Section C got their hands on it, then that would just fucking completely change the game. Having that much surplus energy or having that much control over surplus energy is nothing short of game-changing. Currently, the entire city and all 3 gangs have to come to an accord to protect some of the generators that exist in the north, past the boundaries of what is normally okay. And you recall, in fact, that despite it being in collector territory, it is the only place where they tolerate one another's presence in tandem. And they've even gone so far as to have worked together on anti-air defenses. I mentioned, while you were in the no man's land, that there was a moment where you went, oh fuck, of course they can't go any further north, that's why they're coming back so soon. The reason they don't go further north on that border is because they don't want to get in range of the anti-air weaponry that is around the power. If they discovered that not only is there a source of power inside of the city, beneath the city, it would be... It's just hard to even really comprehend.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. There's a reason why she hasn't told you about this one, Chief.
Yeah.
Your warm water comes from the devil!
Vex slowly soaks in all of this information, sort of wavering between, okay, but what does this have to do with me finding and killing these people, and oh god, that actually is like a fucking insane thing that you've been dealing with, and that if anyone else found out would be fucking crazy. And she finally just sort of is clutching her face on one side, massaging the side of her head. No one else knows about this but you and me.
And whoever else Olivia is working with, but as far as I can tell, nobody else knows. I've not told a soul about this. I brought up the job to Iron Ashura because... She shrugs.
Did they say, look, I'm not trying to dredge up painful memories for you. She says without like a hint of the obvious irony in her voice.
She turns around. Unearth them. Pillage them for all they're worth if it means that these people don't hurt Quoth. I don't care how much pain I go through. Ask whatever you need.
Did they say anything? I mean, even let slip a single mention of anything they were involved with, or what they were doing, or who they were working for? Did they say atrium? The word atrium at all?
Savvy. I imagine that the scene is burned into her head. I will roll if you want me to. I do not believe that she was given that name.
She was not. However, there is something that, I will just pull up as just like a notable thing here, is that like, you remember all of what was said, and you remember that so distinctly. The reason why that happened in the first place is because they made clear that they are pulling power from the same geothermal source. They have cameras, and in theory, it's not necessarily going to be anything other than like, cables, and they could have they could have been boring through rock to make the connections for all you know. But however tenuous, this cave system would have some kind of connection to that facility, assuming that it is indeed atrium.
She rears her head back in contemplation. So, No, they did not give me a name. They were quite overly professional, I think I would use the words. So far up their own ass, they couldn't see how dark it is. She never gave me a name, let alone Atrium. She just said they were a third party. If not made abundantly clear, they are taking from the same power source I am. They noticed a small fluctuation, and were more prepared than I was. I think to a weird extent, I'm their biggest threat. They have cameras. I'm not sure if they've bored through rock to hook things up. But I imagine they're rich, filthy rich, some secret society that Section C doesn't know about, but perhaps that's my conspiratorial side talking. I think Mag's still somewhere out there, so shows how worthy my opinion is of consideration.
Mag? What? What does he have anything to do with this?
It's a long story, I won't bore you with it. But I imagine that they have a physical connection, wired up through their own systems, in regards to my cameras. I imagine, furthermore, it's someone's job to keep an eye on me, and assure that that little toy of mine goes no farther than the allotted coordinates.
I don't know much. I don't know anything about this fucking Olivia bitch yet. But something tells me that if she could just blow you off the face of the earth and not care, not give a single shit like she claimed, she would have done it already. They're afraid, at least in some small way, of pissing off the dredge. They don't want to be discovered, because if they got rid of you, Brimstone and the others would notice and we'd look into it. They want to remain these secreted away little vermin beneath the earth and take this power source and everything else all for themselves. Not to mention all the other vile shit they're working on under there. Thank you for showing me this, Lotus. Vex is like looking further into the cave, like some part of her in some timeline would just go right now. Would just start taking off into the water, into the darkness, and trying to pry them loose from the earth, but she doesn't. Her shoulders slump a bit. I'll have to think about how we're gonna use this.
I'm gonna ask a question here, and be real. You don't have to like say yes or no. I'm not expecting one way or the other. Do you think that you have a phone down here alongside the power thing, like the power terminal?
She does not want even the implication that this place exists, so she would not have a phone here, I'm afraid.
Gotcha. Carry on.
Imagine if she said yes, you were like, Vex, it's the phone. You found it.
Can you imagine? Actually, you know what? I do actually have an idea here in that case. Quoth, you are kind of just, hanging around as you normally do between jobs, having been told to get away. I'll first of all ask, is Quoth the type to have gone and seen what Lotus didn't want her to see, or does she respect her wishes?
I think she respects her. She's not one to like.
She's not a rebellious type.
Yeah, she very much knows that Lotus has her own things that she wants to keep to herself, and that she in turn has hers.
You are just kind of making your way, whether it be back to your observatory or just preparing yourself for, some possible job that's coming up or whatever. But you're passing through one of the hallways and you hear the phone ring. It's one of the strangely archaic ones that you have, like that you have in your general areas, like kind of to match the vibe that you go with, where it's not like a rotary phone by any means, but it is one that actually has like a metal bell that is rung internally within it.
Yeah.
And in fact, it is one of the phones that is designated for like important communication.
Yeah. She hears it ring, and she pauses for a moment. She... Not for long enough for it to stop ringing, right? But she pauses for long enough to, like, go through her mind of, like, Lotus told her not to answer the phone. But it's important. This is the important phone. Lotus isn't available right now. I should let them know that the phone rang and tell them what what was on the phone. So she'll pick up.
You hear on the other end.
Lotus, is that you?
The sister is not at the nest right now.
Of course I had to get the freak. Can you go get Lotus? Tell her it's FRI.
She winces a little bit.
Wait, shit, I'm getting ahead of myself. Is Vex there?
The baby bird is also at the nest.
Good. Go get them. Go and fucking get them right now.
She, does not hang up the phone, and, they seem in trouble, and this seems important, so she's going to go and find, Lotus. Does she know where, like, the entrance to the underground is?
I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
I'm gonna have you make a roll here.
Does she have Lotus sense?
I'm gonna give you a +1 because this is an important situation.
Alright.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not a roll for whether you find it. This is a roll for how long it takes you to find it.
Oh, God.
What
is going on, dude?
Okay, I rolled pretty well.
You hasten yourself, and your limbs come out in full force to suspend you through the hallways. You kind of clatter downwards through the vertical shafts. You find yourself latching to the 4 giant pillars. You pass by some of the people still in their fugue states. You remember where you last saw her. You remember the general direction that she was going in. You pass through down to one of the hallways. You don't know exactly where, but you know immediately when you see that there is a door that you have never seen before that is open. That is probably where she is. The two of you suddenly hear the hurried clattering of cybernetic limbs coming from outside of the hallway.
Oh, what do you mean use?
I don't know. I need to find these people.
I need to also.
Quoth bursts into the room. Quoth, there is as I described, this is a cave system with steaming water everywhere.
She's like on all fours as she's moved around, and she, in the least Quoth way possible, says, "Phone, FRI, Vex, trouble, you, trouble."
She just takes off of the stairs.
I'll be honest, I think Lotus does the exact same.
Quoth does take note of the room, but she doesn't quite understand the implications of the room just yet. As she also, like, despite the fact that they know where the fact that the Lotus knows where they're going, she rushes and takes the lead to like show Vex where the phone is.
Before you leave, I would like everybody to please make a check with a -3.
Oh, Lotus! Quoth! No! The sisters are so scared!
Can I support that roll with my hand, Savvy?
No. You leave the room. And I will just give to you, Lotus, that you just close the door. Quoth leads you through the hallways, and I think at one point even actually just, like, uses her unique capabilities of, you know, abducting people with her insane amount of limbs to just hoist the two of you.
Yeah, basically.
And to take you vertically to the phone, faster.
Yeah.
Right? Thanks to your earlier roll, you get to the phone, and, yeah, Vex, you see that the phone is off the hook. It's like it's like an old one where you put it horizontally onto a little gravity hook, essentially.
Fuck.
She'd stomp right up, grab it. Ossuary?
Vex, thank fucking God. Where the... You need to get to the Jacobs building, over in collected territory. No, not the Jacobs building, that's where... we went through vertically and horizontally.
Oh, you hear him, like, snapping his fingers, like, as he is trying to recall. You know it's because he is absolutely in the maze-like section. He was looking for your apartment. And he goes...
Jacobs building, we went up 2 floors, we went horizontal 3.
And he, like, does some quick mental math, and he just goes...
Old district.
Wait, collector territory, where we were looking. Fine, what's going on?
Palm building, you need to get here right now. I don't have time to tell you exactly what is going on, I just need your help.
I'm miles away. Fuck.
I don't fucking care.
Hang on.
You hear in the background at this point, the sound of an assault rifle. Very clearly. As, Ossuary just goes...
Fuck. Just fucking get to the Palm building.
And he slams down the phone onto the hook.
Vex just casts a fucking, look of just pure shock and adrenaline towards Lotus and Quoth.
With the inflection of a caring big sister. What's the plan?
Vex takes less than 10 seconds just staring at the ground, hands in the air, thinking, before she, all of her instincts screaming at her to just go, this is a emergency situation, you need to go. She starts backing towards the door and suddenly shoots Lotus a glare and points. I'll get there faster on my own. You stay back, get everything important, everything you want to be preserved out of this building. It doesn't matter where you put it, just as long as it's somewhere safe that no one else knows about. Get it out of here, move it out.
She takes a moment. There's the same fear of Olivia that goes through her eyes, but then she glares not at Vex, but with determination, like the boogeyman is done away with.
All right, go!
She starts sprinting out of the room and out into the city proper.
She mutters something under her breath, looks to Quoth, the sensation of momentary anger that she entered the room without permission subsided. She walks over and hugs her very tight. I need to tell you about that room. And then we need to get as far away from here as possible.
Quoth looks up from her notebook when Lotus hugs her, having now just realized that Vex has left. She looks at her very concerned and nods.
And we see Vex jump through various doors and up various stairwells and start to just make your way across the city as fast as you can. You can get there faster on your own. Quoth probably might have known some different routes, something that might have helped you, but what difference it would have made is hard to say. and for it to be so dangerous when it arrives nearer to the location, that isn't ideal either. But one thing is for certain, is that if this situation is going to get worse, that building needs to be empty. Vex, as you are running, I imagine you're just taking the quickest route possible, regardless of how that may take you through the city, is that right?
Pretty much, yeah, for the most part. I think she would be primarily because she has to cross the border to get there, and I imagine that the easiest way to do that as a dredge is either to do it very quickly and quietly, well, rather, either very quietly and, like, subtly, or just, like, rip off the band-aid just to, like, run so you don't attract too much attention, and the attention you do attract will be like, oh, well, that's probably a dredge, you know? So she is probably, mainly going, like, she normally, like, takes a lot of alleyways and side paths through the city, but I think she is just, like, bolting straight there just by whatever means, yeah?
You run, and you are doing your best to make it as straight a shot as possible with the map in your mind. You have no idea what's awaiting you. But one way or another, whether Ephrai found the building or whether just got close, that assault rifle, you think for a moment, and you hope it wasn't the same kind that the military were using. But nonetheless, why would Ephrai call you like that if it wasn't something out of his depth? All of these thoughts are rushing through your head, and simultaneously nothing is kind of reaching any conscious thought as you pull through one of the areas of the city, which is quite peculiar because it's a set of rooftops that is completely and totally built over by other buildings. Somehow this horizontal area of like 6 or so rooftops with, like, you know, these kind of arching steel beams over them that would have been decorative and, you know, made the skyline look quite nice in the past, have instead been darkened by other buildings being bridged over them over and over and over again until you have this strange, surreal, artificially lit skyline, almost underground, but just concrete surrounding you instead. It's as you're passing through here, I'd like you to please make me a roll, and considering your state of mind, would you feel it is fair for me to give you a negative 2 to your perception here?
I think that's fair, yeah. She's like alert, but also like, you know, alert in a particular way of like, I just need to get there. I'm avoiding, like, I'm pushing past a lot of people and so forth.
I'll give you a -1 in that case instead.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here we go. You are passing through this area, the arching steel, decorative steel passing overhead, the shadows beneath, like, kind of passing over you as you run just as fast as you can. You go to vault to another one of these buildings that has similar decoration, and as you get onto the other one, you realize just too late that there is a corner to the right of you where there was a slightly taller piece of architecture that you just hadn't accounted for, and you suddenly feel a huge impact on your head as you are sent sprawling to the floor as you hear the sound of cybernetics clicking together, and as you kind of like blink a little bit, you look up and you see kind of slamming onto the bottom of their jaw, which is this big, like, bear trap looking mouth, which you recall for a second having glanced not too long ago. And You look to your left and you see an individual you don't recognize with these blazing lights in their cybernetic palms, as finally dropping down from one of these steel beams above you, slamming into the ground with new cybernetics and a steel jaw and loose, messy, tied up blonde hair, is Elizabeth. And she goes, "Oh, sorry, I'm not interrupting, am I?"
She leaps forward to attack her.